everybody, my name is Hilde. Welcome to our first day of our 7-day online yoga course for beginners. So we're going to get straight to it. Let's start on our back. We're going to place the feet flat onto the mat or onto the floor and make sure the knees are pointing straight up and roll down onto your back. Now if you do have a block, you can actually squeeze a block in between the knees so that you remind yourself to stay hip distance apart with the knees, and the feet are going to be hip distance apart as well, so that they're like train tracks running on a track. Arms next to your hips, lift your ribcage up for a moment and slide your shoulders underneath. If you do not have a block, no worries, just keep the knees hip distance apart. We're going to take a moment to close the eyes. And I always like to start my yoga class with an inhale through the nose and an exhale through the mouth. And I like to do that 3 times. Let's do that twice more. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And then again, inhale through the nose. Feel your body expanding into the space. Exhale through the mouth. Feel yourself grounding down through the mat. And then continue inhaling and exhaling through the nose. So find that breathing technique very helpful to really become very quickly present and prepare myself for a yoga practice. So as we inhale and exhale through the nose from here on, see if you can soften the muscles in the forehead, the muscles in the jaw, in the neck, the eyes. Just soften all the muscles. Really find a place where you're relaxed. And in yoga, we talk about pranayama. Pranayama means the control of life force, but really it means breath control. So prana is often referred to as the breath. So as you inhale, you're going to slow down the breath and count for 4. So we go inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. Let's try that once more in your own time. Beautiful. So place your hands on your low belly, and we're going to do something we call in yoga low belly breathing. So as you inhale, feel your low belly rise. As you exhale, feel your low belly fall. So low belly breathing is a great way of calming down the nervous system. So if you have a lot of anxiety and stress in your life, I really recommend doing this just a few times a day for a few minutes. And you'll notice how much it will impact your life. So focusing on allowing the belly to rise on an inhale, and belly falls on an exhale. So often when we're very stressed or anxious, we tend to breathe more in the upper chest. So sending the breath downwards will help us slow down the breath as well as calm down the mind. So take a moment to acknowledge that you showed up for this class today, and perhaps set a little intention for yourself that you want to carry forward throughout the next 7 days. Whenever we state an intention, it's best to call it in a positive present tense. For example, I am committed to these 7 days. So try and avoid negative wording such as I don't want to give up, so that we really reinstate the positive. Take a moment to come up with your own intention for these 7 days, and then just repeat it in your mind a couple of times. So now gently open your eyes, bring your hands by your hips, and let's begin. Inhale, arms come up above the head. As you inhale, arms come down as you exhale. Let's do that twice more. Inhale, arms come up. So in yoga, we often synchronize the breath to the movement. So that means if my movement is slightly slow for your breath, you feel free to speed up the movement a little bit or slow it down depending on your length of breath. Let's press the hands down into the mat and we're going to come on into a bridge. Inhale, press the heels into the floor and lift your hips up. Exhale, roll the spine back down onto the mat, one vertebrae at a time. Let's do it twice more. Inhale, lift the hips. And the hips are going to be at the same height as your thighs. Exhale, so you're making a straight line from your knees all the way to your shoulders. Inhale, one more time. Lift the hips, exhale, hold it here. Inhale, stay here, press the heels through the mat. If you have a block, squeeze the block, exhale, stay here. Inhale, squeeze the hips up, and exhale, slowly release down. If you have a block in between your knees, remove the block and just hug your knees into your chest for a moment. Just gently rock side to side to massage the low back a little bit. Let's squeeze the right knee into the right armpit as you extend the left leg out. So using a little bit of upper body strength here to squeeze that knee into the armpits. And then switch side, left knee to left armpit. So I say armpit, I want you to have a little bit of a turnout in that left hip so that you're compressing into the hip flexor as well as into the organs. So you're giving yourself a little belly massage, so to speak. And then hug both knees again, just gently rock side to side. And we're going to roll onto one side and coming all the way up. We're going to come into Navasana, which we call boat pose in yoga. So come onto the tips of your toes and sit up tall. So the tendency is being a bit rounded in the back. I want you to roll your shoulders down onto the back and lift your heart up. We're going to lift one leg and the other, and then from there flex the feet. So the lower legs are parallel to the mat. From here, you can release one arm and the other, so that you're really balancing on your hips. And this is going to activate the core a little bit. So you're probably going to feel that in your belly. Let's hold it for 2 more breaths. Inhale, exhale. Make sure that the knees stay parallel, hip distance apart, and the feet also stay parallel and hip distance apart. Let's take 1 more breath here. Inhale. And exhale, just hug the knees in for a moment and stretch it out. We're going to come into a tabletop next. So come onto your knees. And since this is a beginner course and this is our first day, I want to really talk about the placement of the hands and the knees. So your hands are directly underneath your shoulders, so they're going to be slightly wider than your knees. Now you might find that you start rocking on the outside of the wrist. This is going to cause a lot of pressure on the outside of the wrist. So I want you to actually rotate your elbow creases inwards. So they're going to diagonally point inwards. They're going to point towards the thumbs. And notice how that presses the index finger down into the mat. So your full hand wants to press into the mat. Knees are hip distance apart and knees are directly underneath the hips. So this is our tabletop position. Draw your shoulder blades away from your ears, and from here we're going to take an inhale, drop the belly down and gently look forwards. Exhale, round the spine as you look at your belly button. Press your spine as high as you can. Inhale, arch the spine gently. Exhale, round the spine. So this is what we often refer to as cat-cow. So we're going into cow pose here and then into cat pose as we round the spine. Look at your belly button. Let's take 2 more. Inhale. Again, Following the rhythm of your breath, exhale, round the spine. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, round. Come back into your tabletop, so flat back. We're gonna curl the toes under, and we're gonna come up into downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. So press your hands into the mat and lift your knees about 2 inches off the mat to start. Shoulders away from the ears, and from here, bring your hips up and back into downward facing dog. Now, I want you to start with very bent knees here. This is our first downward dog of the course, so we want to make sure that the back is flat. So sometimes I see this with beginners where they're really rounded and their weight is very much forward. This is not going to be helpful to you in the long term. So make sure you bend the knees and bring your hips back until your ears are in between your arms. From here, you can just walk the heels back one at a time. So walk the right heel back, moving into the hips. Twist a little bit, creating some movement into the joints, and then coming into stillness. So feel free to keep the knees bent, or if you want to lengthen the legs, go ahead, but make sure you don't compromise with your flat back. So this might take some time, this might take months or years before we can really straighten the legs comfortably. So for now, perhaps keep a little bend into the knees. Let's hold for 2 more breaths. Press your hands fully into the mat. And then slowly come down onto the knees, tops of the feet down, and sit back onto your knees. So we're sitting back onto the heels. Rest your forehead down onto the floor, and you can bring your arms back for a moment. So we call this child's pose. And child's pose, or balasana, is a posture of relaxation. So sometimes when a yoga practice feels quite strong, you can always come back to this posture. It's very important in yoga that you listen to your body. So if you feel like some of the postures are too strong, make sure that you allow the body to communicate with you and take a little break. It's totally fine to take breaks during a yoga class. Let's bring the arms back to the front, and we're going to start walking the hands over to the right side of our mat. You can even hold on to your left wrist if you wish, and then come back down. So we come into a side stretch, so you're going to feel that on the left part of your body. Just breathing into the left side of the body for a moment. And soften the forehead, soften the jaw. Take one more breath here, inhale. And exhale, walk your hands over to the other side. So hands walking over to the left, perhaps holding onto your right wrist with your left hand, and then resting your forehead back onto the mat. Feeling a nice stretch in the right side of your torso. Take another breath here. And then walk your hands back to center. So we come back into child's pose. We're going to just place the fingers down onto the mat for a moment and rest the head onto the mat. So coming into this more active child's pose is really going to open in the shoulders into the armpits, which is preparing us for downward facing dog. And then press your hands fully into the mat, come back through tabletop, curl your toes under, and lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. Again, just to stretch the knees for a moment, you can walk the heels back one by one, and then come into stillness. Either bend the knees or straighten. I'm going to keep my knees bent to encourage you to do the right thing for your body. From here, we're going to come into what we call three-legged dog. So we're going to bring the weight into the left foot. We're going to float the right leg up. Now look at your right foot and make sure that your toes are pointed straight down. So your foot is flexed and you're pointed straight down with the toes. So I want you to avoid turning out at the hip so that the hip stays square. We're gonna hold it here for another 2 breaths. Move the shoulders away from the ears, broaden the shoulder blades down onto the back, and then from here, inhale. Exhale, bring your knee towards your nose as you bring your torso forwards. Inhale, come back into 3-legged dog. And now we're going to use momentum. We're going to swing that leg forwards and step it in between the hands. If you didn't get there, you can just shuffle your foot there. From there, we're going to come up into a high lunge. So press your right foot into the mats and lift your arms up. From here, make sure the right knee is above the ankle and your left knee is, your left heel is off the mat. Arms extended up, perhaps making a cactus arm position so that the shoulders stay happy. From here, I want you to slightly bend your back knee so that you create a deep stretch in the front of your left thigh. So tucking the tailbone slightly under. Inhale, bring the arms up above the head, palms together as you exhale. Twice more. Inhale, arms come up. As you exhale, this time bend your back knee down to the mat. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, bring that knee back down. Inhale, lift the arms up. And exhale, bring your hands either side by your right foot. Straighten the back foot back, and we're going to come into a twist. If you have a block, this is a great time to place the block on the inside of your right foot. Place your left hand onto the block, and then peel your right arm up into a twist. So we call this twisted lunge. We're going to hold here for at least 2 more breaths. So when we're not moving through our postures, we want to make sure we're still breathing. So do not hold the breath when you're holding postures. Inhale 1 more time. Exhale, slowly bring that right hand down. Bring your left knee down onto the mat, top of the foot down, and remove the block for a moment. If this feels uncomfortable on your knee, you can either double up your mat or you can take a blanket and place it underneath your knee. From here, we're going to bring the arms back up. So this is going to give you a deep hip stretch in that left front hip. Bring your arms wherever you feel is appropriate and stay here for another 2 breaths. So we call this a low lunge. Inhale, bring the arms back up. And exhale, hands either side by the right foot. Curl the left toes under, step the right foot back into a plank. Hold your plank for 2 breaths. So we're going to engage the core. Make sure that the hips don't lift too high or go too low, so that you're making one straight line from the crown of your head to your heels. 1 more breath, inhale. And exhale, bring your knees down to the mat, tops of the feet down, and lower yourself all the way down onto your belly. So move your hips back, and then bring your hands directly underneath your shoulders. Inhale, lift your chest off the mat. Exhale, slowly release down. So this is called Bhujangasana or Cobra pose. So when I say these Sanskrit names, it's because yoga came from India, and all the postures have Sanskrit names. So I like to honor the origins of yoga by mentioning the Sanskrit names as well. But you don't have to remember these. So this is our Cobra posture. Let's take 1 more. Inhale. This time you're going to press through the hands. Lift the chest off the mat. Squeeze your glutes. Squeeze your elbows into your ribs. Shoulders away from the ears, and hold. Press your toes into the mat. Let's hold it for 2 more breaths. So breathing in back bends is very challenging. Make sure you do not hold your breath in these back bends. Let's take 1 more breath. Inhale. And exhale, slowly release down. And then from here, we're going to press up and back into downward facing dog. So through our tabletop, curl the toes under, lift the hips up and back. And you might want to adjust your feet slightly by bringing the feet closer towards the hands here. Bend your knees and come back into your down dog. From here, we're going to do the other side. So inhale, float the left leg up as you press through the right foot. And just take a moment here, toes pointing straight down, flex the left foot. Breathe, shoulders away from the ears. Let's take another breath here. So the hips are square. You do not want to lift too high in that left hip. One more breath, inhale. Exhale, bring your knee towards your nose as you bring your torso forwards. Inhale, lift the left leg up high. Three-legged dog. Exhale, swing that leg forwards. Step it in between the hands. And then slowly come up with control. So if the leg doesn't get there straight away, you just take a couple of steps to get there. No problem at all. Bring your arms by your side to keep the shoulders from feeling uncomfortable. So we call these cactus arms. And then bend your back knee slightly so that you create a little bit of an opening in the front of that right thigh. From here, inhale, the arms come up. Exhale, palms at the heart. Let's try that again. This time we add a little bend. Inhale, exhale, lower that back knee to the mat. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, lower the right knee to the mat. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, bring both hands down by your left foot. So here again, you can take a block on the inside of that left foot, place your right hand on the block or onto the mat, and then peel your left arm up into your twisted lunge. So you can look down, or you can look up or forwards, whatever feels comfortable on the neck. Now, if we were to draw a line from the 2 feet, you would still be hip distance apart. So you don't want to have the foot in one line with the back foot. Let's take one more breath here. Make sure you're not holding your breath. Inhale. Exhale, hands either side of that left foot. Bring your right knee down onto the mat, tops of the foot down. Perhaps use a blanket or double up your mats. And then inhale, bring the arms up into your low lunge. Adjust the arms if you need. Lift the heart and breathe. So this is a little bit of a back bend. If that does not feel comfortable on your low back, come out of that bend a little bit so that we're here. You're still getting all the benefits of the posture. So always listen to your body, see what feels comfortable for you. Let's take one more breath here. Inhale. Exhale, hands either side by the left foot. Curl the back toes under and step the left foot back into plank. Inhale, hold your plank, spread your fingers wide. Exhale, bring the knees down, tops of the feet down. Bend your elbows, slowly lower down. Inhale, come up into cobra. Exhale, come through your tabletop and then come back into downward facing dog. So we're going to come into what we call warrior one. There's 3 warrior poses that you're going to learn in this course, but today we're going to just do one of them. So we're going to step the right foot in between the hands as we inhale. Right foot comes in between the hands. From here, drop your left heel down. And then press into the right foot as the arms come up. Now you might want to heel toe the right foot out a little bit so that the right heel is in line with the left heel. The left toes are about 45-degree angle pointing forwards. And you're going to aim to get that left hip to bump forward so that your hips are facing to the front of your mat. Again, take any variation of your arm position. So this is called warrior one. Bring the arms behind your back. So it feels similar to your high lunge. The difference is that the back heel is onto the floor. Interlace the fingers behind you and then lift the wrists a little bit away from your hips to open the front body. Let's take another breath here. Inhale and exhale. Bring your hands either side by the right foot. From here, bring your left heel off the mat and we're going to step the left foot forwards, coming into Uttanasana or standing forwards fold. So your feet are hip distance apart. You're going to bend your knees, belly resting onto the thighs, and the hands come down to the mat as you relax your head. So you can stretch one foot back, one knee back, and then the other. You can keep the knees bent, or if you have open hamstrings, you can even straighten the legs if you wish. So from here, we're gonna go onto the other side. So bend both knees, step the right foot back into your high lunge, drop the heel down, and then swing the arms up into warrior one. So your left knee is bent, and I'm gonna heel toe my left foot out a little bit so that I'm feeling comfortable. My right foot is about 45-degree angle pointing forwards, and my left knee is bent. Hips facing the front of the mat. Adjust your arms if you need. And then take a stretch. We're gonna interlace the fingers the opposite way that you're used to. And then lift the chest as you bring the hips away from the wrists. So the wrists are pulling back to open in the front body. You can look forwards or up if it feels comfortable, but try not to break the line of the neck. Inhale here. Exhale, hands either side by your left foot. We're gonna bring that right heel off the mat, and then step the right foot forwards. So from here, heel to the feet together, bend your knees, and swing the arms up. We're gonna come into chair pose, Utkatasana. So there's a few different ways of doing chair. At the moment, I want you to keep a flat back. So you're gonna tuck your tailbone slightly under, engage your lower abdominals, and lift your arms by your ears. If this feels at all uncomfortable on your shoulders, bring your hands parallel to the floor and look straight forward. So we're working our quad muscles here. Take a few more breaths, inhale. Exhale, sit a little deeper. Last breath, inhale. And exhale, palms at your heart, straighten your legs. And we're gonna come in what we call Tadasana. Arms out by your side, palms facing to the front. Lift your chest for a moment. Tadasana is meaning mountain pose. And what we want to do is we want to create a long line through the spine. We're going to close the eyes for a moment. So if you want to bring your feet hip distance apart for balance, go ahead. So the tendency when we're standing is to tilt the pelvis forwards. I want you to engage your lower abdominals, suck your belly in, and drop your tailbone down and inwards so that you keep length on your low back. Take a couple of breaths here. Close the eyes if you wish. Feel the crown of the head reaching up to the sky, heels digging down through the earth. So you feel that opposition in the body. Take a moment to think back of your intention that you set at the beginning of the class. And then inhale, bring the arms out to the side and up. Exhale, bring your arms down. As you bend your knees, you're going to hinge at the hips and fold forwards with a flat back. So we're coming back to our Uttanasana. Inhale, lift the chest for a moment. Exhale, fold forwards. Now bend your knees as much as you can. You can come onto the balls of the feet, and we're going to roll back into Navasana. So you might want to watch first. I'm going to bring my arms forwards, and I'm going to roll back into it. So a little bit of fun there, finding a balance on your hips. Roll your shoulders back. So Navasana or boat pose, which we did in the beginning of the class. We're coming to the end of our class now. Let's take a couple of breaths here. If you want to challenge yourself, so you can straighten the legs. Point your toes. Let's hold for 3 more breaths. If it's too challenging, you can hold the back of your legs and then hug your knees into your chest. Stretch it out. Place your feet flat onto the mat. Lift your arms in front of you. And again, make sure that the knees are hip distance apart, same as the feet. So if you want to squeeze a block in between your knees just to make sure that you're having the right alignment, go ahead. So from here, we're going to roll down, but I want you to take about 3 to 4 breaths to roll down. So what we'll do is each out breath, we're going to roll. Each in breath, we're going to hold wherever we are. So inhale here at the top. Exhale, tuck your tailbone under and start to curve the spine as you roll back. Inhale here, hold. Exhale, continue rolling down the spine. Inhale, hold. Exhale. Notice if you find it a bit of a struggle. Inhale here. Exhale, roll. You might start shaking in your body. Inhale here. Exhale, roll. Coming all the way down. Bring your heels a little closer towards your hips. Lift your ribcage up and slide your shoulders underneath. So we're gonna come into reclined pigeon pose. This is a hip opener. You're gonna float your right knee up to the sky. Flex your right foot. Turn out at your knee. Place your right ankle onto your left knee, but make sure this foot stays flexed because this is gonna protect your knee. From there, float your left thigh off the upwards, and then grab your back of your left thigh with your hands. So you're interlacing your hands on the back of your left thigh. Flex that right foot. So you should feel that in the right hip. If you don't feel anything, you probably have pretty open hips. So what you can do is hold onto the top of the left shin instead. We're gonna hold here for about a minute or so. So yoga is really about finding calm within the work. So the physical postures can sometimes feel demanding, but the breath is what helps us to stay centered, stay grounded, and listen to our body. The moment we hold our breath, we might be pushing too far. So that's something to listen to as well. Let's take another 20 seconds or so. If this feels very uncomfortable on your hip, make sure that you find a position that is slightly more comfortable. We often talk about our edge in yoga, so when we're in a stretch, you're nice and warm now, when we're stretching in our hip, we want to find the edge where there's maybe a mild discomfort, but it's not painful ever. And then slowly float the left leg down. We're going to switch sides to step the right foot down. Left knee floats up, flex your left foot, place your left ankle onto your right knee, turn out from the left knee, and then float your right leg towards your torso. Grab hold of the back of the thigh with both arms. Again, if you don't feel much of a hip stretch here, you can hold onto the top of the right shin instead. Make sure that left knee is turned out and keep your left foot flexed to protect your left knee. And then just hold. Find your edge. And then send your focus to the area of discomfort. Just breathe into it. So with each exhale, you might find your muscles releasing a little more. Let's take another 2-3 breaths here. Softening the forehead, softening the jaw, softening the shoulders, eyes. Just allowing the breath to let go of any tension, any busyness of the mind. You can literally just exhale and let that go. Inhale here and exhale, slowly float the right leg down. Step the left foot next to the right. We're going to come into a spinal twist before we get into relaxation. So press your hands into the mat. You're going to lift your hips just like you did with bridge pose, and then shift your hips over to the right. So your knees naturally want to drop over to the left side. And we're going to look over the right shoulder and bring your arms back into cactus arms. So 90 degrees angles with the elbows. Just breathe into that torso twist. So torso twists are great to remove toxins from the body. So it's a good idea to drink plenty of water for the rest of the day, just to flush out any of the bad stuff. Let's take another breath here. And then slowly flow your knees back up. Press your feet into the mat. Shift your hips back to center. And then do the same on the other side. So lift your hips up. Shift them over to the left. Drop your knees over to the right. And look over your left shoulder as your arms come into a cactus shape. Feel free to close your eyes for these yin postures. so when we close the eyes, we can turn more inwards. Get less distracted by what's happening in the outside world. Giving us an opportunity to listen what's going on inside our body, our mind, our spirit. And float the knees back up, press the feet into the mat and lift your hips back to center. So now we're gonna come into what we call Shavasana, which is corpse pose. So the arms rest by your hips. You're gonna extend one leg and the other, and allow the toes to drop from your center line out to the side. Close your eyes, lift your ribs off the mat and slide your shoulders underneath. And just take another breath in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Let's do it twice more. Inhale. Exhale through the mouth. Last one, inhale. And exhale. I want you to just be. You might have noticed that you're feeling a lot calmer than in the beginning of your practice. The mind is less busy. The body just feels relaxed. So this is the perfect time for Shavasana because we are really in the perfect state. We're relaxed. We're feeling good in our body. So it's an opportunity to just be in the space. Soften the forehead, soften the jaw, eyes soften. Stay here for another minute or so. Focusing on your low belly breathing. From there, just wiggling your fingers and your toes. If you wish to stay longer in Shavasana, go ahead. Otherwise, join me and stretch your arms away from your feet. And take a moment to hug your knees towards your chest and roll onto one side. Gently coming up. And take a moment in cross-legged position. So your legs cross in front in easy pose. Bring your palms at your heart center. Take a moment to close the eyes and just remind yourself of your intention that you set at the beginning of your class. And take a moment to acknowledge that you showed up for yoga practice today. Lovely first session, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow. Namaste. Thanks so much for watching. If you wish to support my work so I can continue producing free YouTube content, you can visit my Patreon page. Link is in the description below. Have a great day.